Okay, we have a relatively new scyther here. Has one existing scythe that's been used, and now a second scythe has come, and I think it's just the handle and the blade.
Yeah, I ordered another snath. I have two blades. This down here, that's a get away from that cat. This is a no, that's a ditch blade, and this is a bush blade. So the ditch blade is for the type of terrain we have here, which it's primarily grass, but there's some saplings in there. You know, weeds that are a little bit woody in terms of the stem and that type of thing. So you don't necessarily want to use a fine grass blade on that. You want something that has a little bit more durability to it. This, then, the bush blade is for the slightly larger saplings. You know, it'll take things off pretty much as thick as my thumb. So some of the oak trees, they got a good start in the previous year or two. This can then take those out. Now, with this blade, I was just switching back and forth between.
Is that the grass blade?
No, this is the ditch blade.
This is a ditch.
This is the one I use for most of the mowing in the field here. But I was a little vigorous, and it cracked. Now, I filled that with some epoxy, and it's holding up pretty well, so I think I can continue using this. But that's one of the reasons why I wanted to get an additional snath.
A snath, please.
Snath is the
handle.
Is the wooden part.
What somebody else might call a handle or something.
Well, yes.
But it's a snath.
Scythe, you may as well use the real terms.
So a scyther attaches a blade to a snath.
To a snath, yes.
Great.
Right. There are few enough people who are scything that if we don't use the words, what's the point?
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to open it up here and see what we've got. I ordered it from the same company. It's the Scythe Supply company. I do not blame the company for that handle cracking. I think I was, as a new scyther, I was being a little too vigorous and going after some plants, some saplings that were maybe a little bit too hardy.
What state is that out of? Or
this is out of Maine. There aren't that many places that make scythes, but there are very few that make the Austrian style, and this is the Austrian style.
What are the other styles?
Well, it doesn't have. It would just. This has two handles that at right angles, opposite direction of the blade, and so it's a different way that you hold the blade.
Okay.
And a little bit different way you swing.
Austrian.
And
you do the Austrian swing.
I do like it better.
What's that? What you call it?
I'm not sure if you call it Austrian swing or not. Anyway, so here we go. All right, so it comes with a lovely little postcard.
All right. Oh, my, close enough. Outfit, everything you need. Snath, custom size to fit you. Peening jig, scythe book, metal whetstone holder, quarried whetstone, and a high quality blade. They come in 22-inch, 24-inch, and 26. Scythe Supply.com. We've been pleased. Just one moment. What's this called?
That's a peening log.
So this is a peening log. And we'll look at that in a moment. And here are the different blades. Right, so there's a grass blade on the top.
So this is me, new scyther.
Just one moment. And a ditch blade. So grass, ditch, and Styra brush blade. Okay. How long have you been scything? When did you get your first scythe? If that's a better question.
The first scythe we got, what was it, about like 6 months ago was all, or something like that. So I haven't been scything for very long. We got it well, actually it's been a little longer than that because we got it in the late fall, I think. Or did we get it in the spring? I have no idea. It's been less than a year.
Just one moment.
Hello. Hello. Oh, sure. Foil puffs up. So the potatoes will start to steam and it'll get really big. So we've got the snath, we've got the stem, and then we've got two grips. We've got one. It's nice. They're slightly different sizes, so it lets you know if you got it in the wrong place. Anyway, and so it's going to be roughly like that, but it does make a difference if this handle is here, or if it's here, or whatever, or this one. If it's slightly up or down, it's going to change what the natural blade angle is to the ground, and that does change the way it cuts. This one here, I played around with a fair amount and got this to be pretty much like I like it, and so I'm going to try and duplicate what I did here.
To glue it once you have it where you like?
Yeah, you put it where you like it, and then you glue it up. Now, if anything, you want the blade to go parallel, basically, to the ground. But if anything, you want to have this set so that it's got a slightly, when you're holding it naturally, it has slightly down on the point. At least that's what I've found. That as soon as this point, when you're swinging, as soon as that point starts to lift up a little bit, you end up just bending over the grass instead of cutting the grass. So I want it set so that when I'm holding this naturally and relaxed, the point there of the blade is slightly down. All right, and then after the glue sets, then I will go ahead and I'll set it up with the blade on it.
Is there a recommendation on the glue set time?
Well, it depends on what glue you use. I like to use Gorilla Glue for just about anything that's wood. So this will take, I'll let it set for 24 hours before I mess with it.
Okay.
All right. So that is the other thing I like about Gorilla Glue is that it does expand slightly. This, in terms of dry fitting, that's really loose. This one was not that loose. But this Gorilla Glue will expand slightly, and so that'll hold it where it needs to be.
So is this the same company, and so the snath is the same? Are
The
both?
snath is not quite the same. Each snath is custom cut, so that the height of the hip, the height of the shoulder are taken into account.
You send them your measurements?
You send them measurements, and then they custom cut your snath. So each of these is individually cut.
Okay, we're back again.
I changed my mind. I am gonna dry fit this before I figure out where the final position is for the gluing. So there's a hole in the back of the snath, and the blade will notch into that, and then the ring and the key will then come over that and tighten that in. So I got to loosen everything up here, so I'll slide over it, and this will just press this notch into that wood there.
Are you finding it easier to put together the second time?
No.
It was easy the first time?
Well, this notch was a little bit larger and deeper, I think, on the other one. I may need to tap this gently a little bit deeper because it's not able to quite get over that. So let me grab my hammer.
And what are you hitting it with?
My peening hammer. I just need to drive that down just enough that I can slide this over it.
Is that where your other one cracked?
What?
Is that where? Okay.
No, it cracked while I was using it.
About how long did it take for you to be proficient at cutting grass with this tool?
Compared to someone who's been scything for 60 years, I probably am not yet proficient.
But you can
But
cut the grass down.
Yes, I can cut the grass pretty successfully now, and the difference that it made between 10 hours, 20 hours, and 30 hours is pretty significant. You learn if you're open to what the grass is telling you, and cut, by listening to the grass and noting the feel, you can gain proficiency very quickly. This also has a customizable range here. You can set this in so that it is almost angling back in that direction, or you can set it like this too, so it's more open. I have found that a little more open cuts better for me, but I'm not sure that that will always be the case. As I get more proficient at it, I may find that that other positions work better. Oh, I did watch a couple videos, a couple off their site, and then a couple just random YouTube videos. And it gives you hints. Not everybody says exactly the same thing. And so I tried the things that I was hearing, and then I stuck with the techniques and tips that I felt yielded the best results for me.
And slightly wet, did you find that easier to cut?
I did. They do talk about the best time to cut is with the dew of the morning, and I did agree that a little bit of dew on the grass does seem to make it cut a little bit better. All right, so I want to lay this out and figure out where I want it.
Do they make left-handed scythes?
They do, because it is particular to the right or left hand. So it should be pretty much just parallel to the ground here when your blade is parallel to the ground, or at least that's what
Looking good.
I believe is or that's what seems to be the case. All right, so now I think I'm ready to go ahead and put this on and then set it aside and let it, actually, this is so loose, I may have to find a clamp or something to keep this in place.
Do you want to set that aside and show us your peening log?
Sure, we can do that. All right, so the peening log.
And did it come with this log?
No, I did buy in the original kit, I bought the peening jig. Let me grab my old. I did get the kit which came with that peening jig. And so the peening is as you cut, you have a pretty fine edge, and it does tend to dent and roll the metal on that edge. And so peening is then, it's going to flatten that metal on that edge out again.
And is that what you call a key that you just...
Yeah, and it's a square key, so don't lose it. It's not a hex key that you can just go get from the hardware store. All right. So this blade, it's time to peen it again. This is actually some damage. We have a lot of rocks in our field, and so there's just no way you can try and spot them, but eventually it happens. And so this took an actual chunk out of the metal. And so, but here this is rolled a little bit. That was probably a really sturdy stem. This, I'm not sure what it was, but this is up a bit too. So the peening, you hammer all that flat again, and then you hone it with a whetstone.
How often do you need to peen your blade in general? Like once a cutting?
Like once every, I don't know, they said like 10 hours or 8 hours. I can't remember. The videos give a recommendation.
That's enough.
But in practice, it's anytime your blade starts to get a lot of dents, then you should probably do a little.
Do you notice you're not cutting as well?
You do notice you're not cutting as cleanly, yes.
Okay, are you gonna...
All right, so I'm going to, before I do the peening jig, I've got a little flat anvil here, but some of the worst spots I'm just going to straighten out just a little bit before I do the peening. This goes on the post.
Okay.
The blade goes in between the two.
Okay, nice.
So you tap on this, and then this hits the blade and flattens it out. And it's like one, you start at one end of the blade, and it's like 1/16 of an inch. You move that along for every hit that you make. So once you do the entire length of the blade, then you switch from the number 1 jig to the number 2 jig, and you repeat that process through the full length. And that will flatten that blade out, and it will also, like some of these divots, like this chunk is really deep, but some of the chunks that are not as deep, it will force that metal down into that, and it will lessen how much of a dip or divot that your blade actually has. Depending on how you use it, how many rocks there are in your field, how diligent you are about your honing and peening, it probably makes a big difference.
What's the flat thing on this behind the, what's that?
That's just a little flat peening anvil.
Okay.
Some of the larger dinguses and dents, they don't really fit into between the peening jig.
Right.
And so running those on the flat.
And that's something you added to your peening log, though. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what's this leather on this?
That just holds my hammer.
Okay. So that's a little...
That's just, that's
something you did.
That's just holding the hammer.
And what's on the opposite side there, please?
Some other little tools, a little tool bag that I stuck on there so that I can keep one of my keys in there.
And do you carry this log out to the field with you? Or?
No. The honing you do in the field with you as you're working, but the peening at the end of the day or at the end of a couple days.
And do you enjoy this activity?
Yeah. Sometimes it makes you wonder why anyone would cut 12 acres of grass by hand, but it's certainly, if you've got a desk job, it is good exercise. It's therapeutic, at least to some extent, and yeah, it's enjoyable. It's also there's an enjoyment out of figuring out how to do it and how to get better as well. So and not everybody these days is a master scyther.